Hi, my name is Kathie Harsch, and I like to teach the strategies and techniques that help writers improve their writing skills. And one of the things that I like to do is show students how I would brainstorm a particular topic. And so you will see me go through brainstorming a mind map of a bad event that happened to me and how that affected me. So in the video, you're going to see me thinking about my ideas, writing those down, how I kind of grouped them together. Also, how at the end I numbered them off so that I could make sense of the mind map I created. Then you'll also hear me mention that I created a PDF for that, and that'll be included with this, the PDF. So just look for that. And so without further ado, let's get into it. As you can see here, I've written down brainstorming and a bad day. What I'm about to show you is a technique I use a lot when I am trying to come up with a lot of ideas, lots of details, and that is what I call a mind map. What I need to think about first is what is my topic going to be? I have a very long life so far. So I've had lots of bad days, but ones that kind of stick out for me is whenever I've hurt myself because you remember pain, physical pain, and a lot of times that would also make me angry too. So there's some emotional pain there too, or embarrassment. I'm going to write about a bad day I had going to the gym and falling down on a treadmill. All right. What I would normally do here, if I didn't know what my topic was going to be ahead of time, I would make a list and then choose something from the list. And whatever started giving me some details in my brain, and I started seeing it like a movie in my head, because that's kind of how my brain works, then I would choose something that makes that movie in my head. So I'm going to put it here, fall on treadmill. This is kind of what caused the bad day. So I guess I should put bad day in the middle. And this is the cause of it. Another thing that I could think about is when this happened, it was in the middle of a weekday, I think. I don't think it was a weekend. You don't have to be exact on when, okay? This was several years ago. And it was in the middle of the day. I think it was a weekend though, because I kind of remember most of the machines were being used at the time. It was probably a Saturday, I'm guessing. I don't remember. That's another thing about writing personal narrative or memoir. If you can't remember exactly something like something somebody said or something you did, what most likely happened? What is most likely from the details that you remember? When was it most likely? So it's okay if you're not 100% truthful on a personal narrative. Think of personal narrative as an impression of the day, not necessarily 100% accurate, because our minds, our memories don't work that way. Some people do have perfect memory, like they can remember every small detail, but that's not most of us. I have these little itty bitty bits of flashes in my brain, I guess, sort of like a dream. And I have to go by the clues that my brain is giving me. Now I need to say where. Where this happened is important to this story because that's why I got embarrassed about it. It was at my local YMCA. And it was, well, let me see if I can get this to show up there. There we go. And this was in the treadmill area. I was right next to another treadmill machine. We're all in a line. Okay, all lined up. And I am going to put that here because that's important to my story, that little detail, very close together. You'll find out why that's important in a few minutes. All right. So how did this happen to begin with? I might want to do a little timeline because it's an event. I'm going to put it vertically along here to say what happened at the beginning, middle, and end. So I'm going to do like a little thing here, and I'm going to put what happened here. All right, kind of point to that. So this was at the beginning. I'm just going to put BEG for beginning. This is in the middle, and this is at the end. Now, I am going to tell you this. Whenever I'm planning to write something and I want to have an effect on my reader, I think about what effect I want to have. I want my reader to feel like I did, which is I want them to feel empathy for me getting embarrassed, but also kind of laughing a bit at it because that's what I do now because I think it's kind of funny. But at the time, I was mortified. So I was absolutely so embarrassed. I had to leave the gym because I was so embarrassed. Plus, I don't think I was in pain at all. It was more that I fell. I didn't really hurt myself. I hurt my pride. It was very embarrassing. I want them to understand that and feel that. That's what I want to end with is that image of feeling embarrassed and leaving the gym. I didn't even get a workout in. I just left. Okay, so that's my end. So, what has to happen right before that in order for me to feel that way? So, the middle is actually going to be the climax of my story, which is the fall itself and what happened during the fall. So, what happened immediately in between those two is that I got up. I got up and I'm looking around. This is the resolution of my story. So, resolution is where a main character makes a decision or it brings the reader closer to the end of the scene or the story. In this case, I have to make a decision. Am I going to stay or am I going to leave? Obviously, I made the decision to leave, decided to leave Jim. No one reacted. It was kind of weird. I was surprised. I guess they were embarrassed for me. So no one reacted. I'm going to actually put this middle over here and I could go step by step what actually happened. My keys dropped. I'm going to say that up here. I went to go reach for them and that's when I fell. What happened during the fall? Legs flipped around, almost took the guy out next to me. He was running. That would have been bad. And then I had to wait until it seemed like it took forever, but it was only a few seconds. I had to kind of wait until the treadmill pushed me back. I just had to ride the treadmill back onto the floor. So, treadmill dumped me on the floor, basically. And, I was going about 3 miles an hour, which isn't that fast, but it doesn't take that long for it to push me back, but it felt like forever. So, what has to happen right before the fall? Well, what caused the fall? Because something caused it. All right. I was about to get off the treadmill, but I unclipped myself. So, unclipped, because there's this little stop mechanism that you clip to yourself on a treadmill. I unclipped the stop mechanism. Something caused me to do that. And I'll talk about that up here. And then I dropped my keys and I knew that, but somebody came up and pointed to it. Someone distracted me. And I wasn't thinking. I went for the keys because someone told me my keys were on the floor instead of thinking about, hey, you got to put your feet to the side, stop the machine, get off, go get the keys, right? Yeah, messed up whatever process what was going on in my head. Not that person's fault, my own fault, not blaming them. They were being nice. They were telling me that I dropped my keys, right? Now, what had to happen right before that? Of course, I'm walking on the treadmill and I was getting ready to get off the treadmill. That's why I unclipped myself. I saw that an elliptical machine was open. And I like the elliptical. I don't like the treadmill quite as much because of falling hazards. Elliptical machine open. So I decided to get off. Now I made the decision, but I wasn't off yet. Now, my page is full of ideas. I can write from this. So I have what's going to happen in the beginning, what caused the fall, which is the second part, the fall itself, which was in the middle of my story, what happened directly after the fall, and then how I felt at the end and leaving. Now, I'm going to use a highlighter because so that you can see better, but you don't have to use a highlighter. I just am. Okay, so first of all, I need to talk about what my topic is, which is a bad day. So I do need to start with this so that my reader knows that I'm starting with that. Okay, now I'm not going to tell them right away that I fell on a treadmill because I'm going to work up to that. But I do want to tell them where I was and when I was. And this might all be in the same sentence. Like several years ago, I had a really bad day one Saturday. It was the middle of the day. It was a Saturday at the Y, and it was very crowded. All the machines were being taken up pretty much. On usual days at the Y, the elliptical machines aren't all taken up. Usually there's at least one. But I also had favorite machines too at the very beginning. So I need to add that detail over here is that um, wanted to be on elliptical, but they're all taken. So then I started walking on the treadmill. Okay, so I would say that this is my sixth idea to show why I went on the treadmill to begin with, and then go down to the treadmill machines and saying how they're all lined up really close together. And it's very crowded and all that. I'll put all those ideas together. So this starts the whole thing is that I'm walking on the treadmill. Then the elliptical machine opened. That did happen next. So I decided to get off the treadmill. So just for the purposes of showing you where my ideas are going, I'm going to go ahead and put numbers on those. All right, so then I unclipped the stop mechanism. So it goes from here to here. You can put arrows if you want to, you don't have to. Numbering things off is very important, by the way. This really helps because let's say I'm not going to write this today. I'm going to write it another day. I can come back to this and use my chart and figure out exactly where I want to start, where I want to end up. Okay, so that's why I do it like this. All right, so 12 would be dropping the keys. And then someone distracted me by telling me about my dropped keys. And so I go to get off to go get the keys, and that's when I fell. And this machine is going 3 miles an hour. So, of course, the fall, I'm going to put all those other details like I was on my knees and I had to pull my knees in. I had, flipped onto my side and I had to pull my knees in because there was a runner right next to me. Then the treadmill dumped me. I finally got off the treadmill. I was no longer in danger of hurting somebody else. Now it's just a matter of being embarrassed. So I'm looking around. No one really reacted. I mean, everybody looked away. I was trying not to look at people, but I did look to see if anybody, saw anything or whatever. So 22 ideas off of this. That's a lot of ideas. And then leaving, feeling embarrassed and leaving the gym. Okay. So I have 23 ideas. Now, I wouldn't say each of these ideas are a sentence. These can be parts of sentences. I'm probably also going to add more details in because as I'm thinking about this, more details are coming to my brain. So I did actually write about this at another point in time when I was writing with my students years ago in the classroom. And I made this extremely funny. I added exaggeration into it by making the treadmill into some kind of monster. So it made it funnier, and it also told why I don't usually go on treadmills very often. I've probably only been on a treadmill twice since this happened, and this happened years ago. So, this is one of the writing strategies that I use. This helps me come up with ideas. And if you would like a copy of this, I can type this up and provide that as an example. But I can also give you a blank chart because when I create this digitally, so hopefully this was helpful. You could see my process for coming up with these ideas. And if you noticed, when I came up with what actually happened, I went to the end first and worked backward. The reason I did that is because I didn't want to start off with waking up that morning and deciding to go to the gym. I wanted to start with where the action is just before the fall, like what caused the fall, you know? So that's why I went backwards. And I also wanted to think about how do I want to end this? Because if I start at the beginning, if I just start writing without really thinking about what I'm writing, I could have started off like why I went to the gym, all these other details that are unimportant to the actual bad moment. So this did cause a bad day for me the whole day. I was totally embarrassed. I was looking to see if somebody had posted it online. I mean, yeah. So, and I didn't go back to the why. I stopped my membership and I still had more days to go for that month. And I didn't go back. So that shows what an effect it had on me at the time. Okay. So as you can see, this is how you can come up with a bunch of ideas for any topic. I use this all the time. When I'm writing about an event, I do include a timeline. Like I said, I will make this much, much cleaner and give you a copy of it in a link somewhere down below. So now I'm going to show you how I would use this map to start writing. Everything is numbered off, so it makes it a lot easier. I'm actually going to write on the opposite page over here. So my first sentence is going to be about the bad day. I'm not worried about my hook right now. I'm not worried about anything else other than getting started. What's the very first thing I want to say? I'm not putting the art in of what I'm writing yet. I am just getting a first draft down. Then when I go to revise it, I will add a really good hook. I'm going to start with the bad day, when it was, and where it was. So several years ago, one Saturday afternoon at the YMCA, I have to work in the bad day somehow. So I was thinking I might want to put the bad day at the beginning, but several years ago, one Saturday afternoon at the YMCA, lots of prepositional phrases here. Um, I experienced a bad day at the gym. Okay. So, not my best beginnings, but this is a draft. First drafts do not have to be perfect. I can always go back and redo this and do a hook and make it so much better. Okay, but that's not the purposes of doing this right now. What I'm trying to show you is how I can take my map and put it into words, and it doesn't have to be perfect. If you're a teacher, remind your students that your first draft is not supposed to be perfect. Your first draft is to get down your ideas in as organized way as possible and add in details that you might have forgotten to add in over here. It's where you're just working through your thoughts and getting them down as best you can. Then, when you go back and revise, that's when you can get more artistic with your writing. You can use more techniques. Like I could start off with some kind of a thought that I have. I could start off with a conversation with someone. Probably not because I wasn't conversing with anyone. Or what the gym looked like, how crowded it was when I first walked in there, which is probably where I'm going to go with this when I get ready to write the hook for this. But right now, this is where the reader is supposed to see me at, what time of day it is, to be able to start making a picture in their brain. Sometimes it helps if you check things off. And then I wanted to do the elliptical. I usually like to work out on the elliptical machines. However, the gym was crowded, so that was very crowded. And the only thing open, only machine open was a treadmill. So I've got the very crowded part, what I wanted to do, and then the treadmill machine. I never liked the treadmills because never liked the treadmills because they were grouped so close together. And I happen to be clumsy. Let me take out very. Clumsy is good. Don't put filler words like very in there. I know you want to, but when you find yourself using very, just get rid of it. It's not good for your writing. A moving belt, a moving floor beneath my feet is never a good idea. But on this day, I chanced it. I took the chance. I took the chance. That's my beginning. I'm up to this part up here where I'm at the beginning. I did the lineup, how they're very close together, about walking on the treadmill, but I haven't actually started walking yet. It was just the decision to walk. And then I'm going to get into being on the elliptical machine and stuff. I'm not writing this whole thing in front of you. I just wanted to show you how you could go from here to here. And if you notice, after each sentence I write, I go back over to my map. I see where I am on my map, and that's the next sentence I write. I do this on purpose. This keeps me from going off on another tangent, and it helps me to keep my writing to the point that I'm trying to make. And yes, I do add things in. As you can see, I added in that I never liked treadmills. I didn't say that over here. I did say it when I was talking, but I didn't say it here. I hope this helps you see how you could take your mind map and put it into a draft. Like I said, I will make this much, much cleaner and give you a copy of it in a link somewhere down below. Bye for now and happy writing.